Hey friends, TUXX here. I want to do a follow-up video to the Sony NW-A306. I still get a lot of questions about this unit. In fact, I'm going to answer two of the most pressing questions I get from viewers on this. Now, you buy one, you're thinking, okay, how many songs can I fit onto it? That kind of thing. So first off, despite the internal memory, people want to use their own SD cards, their own memory cards in there to maximize the amount of space they have to really jam every last little audio file on there as you can. Now, as far as how many audio files, again, results will vary because different audio files are different sizes. You know, there's different types of audio files. Like an MP3 file is substantially smaller than a DSF file, you know, maybe in the likes of 4 or 5 times as small. So it really depends on the song length, the song quality, you know, the recording quality, I guess I should say, and there's a lot that goes into it. But one thing that is still pretty tried and true is the size of the card you can stick in. Now, Sony officially says you can put micro SD cards up to 128 gigs in here, which is more than enough space for a huge music collection, and it would be just fine, you know. But I know people want more sometimes, you know. So another option for you is the micro SD XC cards can go up to 1 terabyte. Okay, I will have examples of both the regular micro SD cards 128 and the micro SD XC cards up to 1 terabyte in the description down below, as well as links for the player too. But those are two options for you. I mean, 1 terabyte is a huge amount of space, you know, so really it's more than you probably need. Now, one thing I have to add to this is that's like Sony's specs, you know, like Sony, they want to have the player play at a, you know, a good stability range and not have problems, that kind of thing. And much like if you look at like CPUs, when you buy a CPU, it says, you know, it's spec'd for this speed, like, you know, 3 gigahertz or whatever the speed might be, you know. And the thing about that is that's like the preferred speed that Microsoft or whatever company it is, you know, whether it's AMD or if it's, you know, Intel or whatever, whoever is making the chip, I guess I should say, what they think that it should be ran at, you know, but it can run faster, you know, much like an expiration date on a can of soda, you know, it's best to drink it within the preferred time, but if you drink it 1 day later, 2 days later, a week later, it's probably going to be okay, do that at your own risk, so I will say, you know, anything with food related, but when it comes to, you know, preferred dates, that kind of thing, preferred sizes, that kind of thing, they're always going to tell you what is, in their minds, the safest answer for them, because they don't want to tell you something bigger than it should be and have you have problems, okay? So you really can go bigger. You know, it's up to you to try that, though, and see what you feel comfortable with. Now, keep in mind that when you add a bigger memory card, no matter if it's the 128 gig, you know, or if you're going to 1 terabyte or more, you know, the fact is that's a big amount of space, okay? So the way I would look at that is think of it being like trying to get, you know, jelly beans out of a jar, you know. It's like if you have a small jar, you know, with 100 pennies in it, you know, you can count those pennies pretty quickly, you know. But if you have a big, like a baking bowl, a mixing bowl or something with 1,000 pennies in it, you know, it's going to take much longer to find that exact penny or to count them individually, you know. And every time you boot up this, you know, it's going to think, okay, it's want to scan your file, and that's going to be one thing which takes up a little bit of time, you know. And we all know that Sony NW-A, besides being an awesome player and having some great music filters and a lot of great technology in this player, which is normally reserved for the $1,000 plus players, you know, some of the filters and things they have, some of the sound features in this are amazing, you know. But okay, one thing it's also kind of known for is being a little bit slower booting up, you know. So if you're adding a bigger memory card into it, you're actually going to perhaps potentially increase the amount of time it takes for it to boot up, especially if there's music files in that 1 terabyte or more of memory, you know, for it to like go through and catalog real quickly. So anyway, guys, something to consider. You know, I would recommend using, you know, close to the amount of space that you need. You know, if you only need, you know, 512, use a 512, you know. If you only need 128, use a 128, you know. Use what you think is appropriate for the size of music collection you have, okay? And you can fit a lot of music in 128, quite honestly, you know. Do you need 1 terabyte? Probably not, you know, but I know people like their space. I mean, sometimes it makes sense to buy a really big memory card, and that way you'll have the space for the future, as opposed to buying a smaller card now and a slightly bigger card 6 months from now and another bigger card, you know, a year from now. Like, it's better to get the biggest, best thing you can buy all the time. And that leads me into my next question. People say, oh, well, I'm thinking about getting the Sony NW-A306, but, you know, I'm also looking at this other player. You know, there's a lot of great players at a lot of different price ranges. So So my recommendation for that, honestly, people say, which player should I buy? I say buy the most expensive player that you can buy with the money you have available, okay? Because it's the type of thing where you want to buy something like this and have it last you a real long time. You want to have one that you're going to enjoy. And sometimes I love cheaper players for certain things, for sure. But, if it comes time, like if you're just having one player and you want to have like the most bells and whistles and everything, just look at your budget, what you can honestly afford. Don't overspend necessarily, but what you can afford, and then get the best one. And that is what's going to last you the test of time. That's what's going to last you, years, that kind of thing. Do I use my most expensive player all the time? No, actually, I don't. Oftentimes I like the little teeny cheap players, the little players I have for like $20 or whatever. Sometimes those little clip-on ones for backpacks are amazing, and I love them. But there really is definitely a time and a place where I really want something like the Sony NW-A306 that is a good, $350 type player. Prices vary, and I will have the best link for the price for this down below as well. So again, just get the most expensive one you can afford, and then that will last you longer. But don't be afraid to get the cheaper ones too, because honestly, there's a curve, and the cheaper ones sound pretty amazing for $20, honestly. So it's not like bang for the buck. You're going to get more bang for your buck with a cheaper player. But then if you get one that is more expensive like this or higher, it's going to have more longevity to it, so that's definitely something to consider. And then the third question I want to answer today is people ask about the screensaver. In fact, let me boot this up here. I think I went into sleep mode here. If you don't touch it long enough, it's going to go into sleep mode, or maybe it just powered down. Oh, I think my juice is out. Hold on one second. Yeah, it looks like my power went out, so I'm going to let this bad boy charge, but I'm going to keep the video rolling here, guys. So people ask about the screensaver. Like if you roll back in this video, you'll see I had a little screensaver going for a while, and that's the Sony cassette screensaver. People love it. It's amazing. I love the way it changes the name of the name on the cassette to the song that's actually playing. It looks like what happens with a real cassette. You pop a cassette in and it says the name of the band or the name of the album or whatever. And Sony does that amazingly well. It's not just a generic cassette. It's really custom to the quality of the music file you're playing, and it changes the name on it with artist and song, which is really fun. It's a great feature. Sony definitely nailed it, and it's well worth using. But people say, hey, TUXX, can you use, like Spotify? Can you use Apple Music? Can you use these other programs, streaming music, to get that screensaver? And the short answer for that is no, okay? Pretty much the screensaver is locked to the Windows or to the Sony Walkman software, so if you're using a third-party app like Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, whatever, Tidal, it's going to be, if it's playing through an app, the screensaver will not work. Now those third-party programs may have their own screensaver, which is pretty amazing too, but none quite live up to the amazing glory of the Sony NW-A306 screensaver. It's beautiful. So I'd recommend, just if possible, again, I don't recommend streaming services for a lot of reasons, but I would say that using streaming services is very convenient. But the downside of that is that fact that you're not going to be able to get that full cool Sony, Walkman like screensaver, so you have to kind of weigh out the pros and cons there. But I love it, and I'd always recommend getting your own music files anyway. Why pay a monthly fee for something which you could have your great own music collection, and it's really fun to collect and increase and see the quality and size of your music collection grow over time, and then you can use it on multiple devices, and it's just so much better than having, borrowing music as a streaming service, and not really owning anything, So anyway, guys, that's a few quick questions that people ask about the Sony NW-A306. Still have this player, still love this player. If you're new to the channel, I do have a lot of videos about this player. This is a case you can get, aftermarket case, aftermarket little holder here. I put like earbuds and things into, and IM. So it's a great little player. Fully recommend it. For me, this is Sony's real sweet spot too. The fact that this is about $350, sometimes less, sometimes more, depending upon the price of things at the time. And again, the best price for you will be right below. I do update prices all the time. But it's a thing where it's great because it has a lot of the technology, like I said, of the higher, more expensive, like $1,000 plus Sony players. So it's really a cool player. Sounds amazing. And it's Sony's flagship player. Like I say, they sell more of these than other players. In fact, let me look up that number real quick. Okay, so I stand correct, and Sony does not release sales information publicly, okay? If you are from Sony And if you happen to catch this, I would love to hear more information from you. Okay, what is the best-selling player from Sony? In fact, if you are, no matter if you're from Sony or if you're a fan or someone just who's into, you know, audiophile players, DAP players, that kind of thing, and if you know this information, reach out to me, tuxtoys@gmail.com. I'd love to see it. I know from my experience as a Amazon influencer that I get more questions about this player, the Sony NW-A306, than any other player from Sony, out of everything that I discuss and things I don't discuss on channel. So definitely this is something where it's a very popular player. I think it really hits that sweet spot of being, you know, it's $350. It's not the lowest player, not the highest cost player, but it has a lot of the features of the $1,000 plus players. And I think that entices people to spend that $350 on it, you know, and it really is truly an amazing player. I love my little Sony NW-A306. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Maybe at the year end, I'll do like a year end wrap up with my Amazon information and let you know where the top players, in my opinion, of the year based upon Amazon sales, okay, or Amazon clicks, like click-throughs, that kind of thing. And it'd be really curious to see if it is Sony or not. So anyway, it's October. We got a few months to go. Let's see what happens at the year end. And I want to thank you guys very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, as always. And if you have questions about this DAP player or any other DAP player, Sony or not, reach out to me, tuxtoys@gmail.com. You guys know I'm here to help, okay? And I do respond to a lot of the questions I get on this channel. I can't respond to every single one, but I respond to a lot of them. I really do. Test me. Put a comment down there, and odds are I probably will respond to it, okay? But anyway, thanks for watching, friends. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Click the link.